Hello and welcome back to Gavin Sonex B. Well, it's been a long time and I have to say I'm very sorry to all those people who've been sending me messages saying, "Are you dead? Are you okay?" Well, I am okay and I'm not dead. And I'm still working away on the Sonex, but it's not been easy the last few months. When I spoke to you last time, it was February. I'd made some significant progress. But between February and a few weeks ago, not much had happened at all. Life, work, everything had just got in the way, getting prepared for the summer season, because we have visitors staying here over the summer. The pool, the garden. We had to rebuild a large decking area in the middle of the garden, which when I went out to basically clean it up for the beginning of the summer season, it collapsed, and it turned out that the frame underneath, the wooden frame, had completely rotted. There was very little left of it. So we had to do an emergency repair on that. It had to be completely stripped down, complete new wood frame created, and put all back together again. And hopefully now it'll last another 10 years or so. But as I say, all these things conspired to stop me from doing what I really want to do, and that's build my Sonex. But the guests are here, they're in the pool, the sun is out, and everything's good. So I've got some time to actually spend building an airplane. So what have I been doing? Well, at the end of the last video, I was talking about a few things. The main thing that was giving me some grief was the landing gear and not being able to get the landing gear legs into the engine frame. Well, to cut a very long story short, I had several goes at doing it. I couldn't get the legs to go in and out without jamming quite badly and needing to be bashed out from the other end, and I didn't want it to be like that. So I had a look at the tolerances between the tubes and the titanium bar, and it was very, very, very tight in the wrong direction. So they were never really going to go in there, and so what I did was I ordered a previously enjoyed 1.1" reaming bit, which looks a little bit like this. It's a beast. Now it's got I think it's a number 3 Morse taper on it or something like that to go into some kind of milling machine. I don't have anything that big. So what I did was I used it as a hand reamer. And because it's only a tiny fraction that needed to come out, it wasn't that difficult. So I basically inserted this a little bit at a time into each end of the tube that the legs fit into, and gently hand reamed them out. One leg actually goes in quite easily with a bit of resistance. You can push it in. It might need a little tap to get it the last little bit, but it was pretty straightforward. The other one went in until it got to the other end where the tube insert is at the other end, and then jammed. And what I worked out was that the two tube inserts actually aren't in line. And I proved it by putting some bending effort onto the actual frame, and it then went in. And so once I knew that, and it's only a fraction out, by basically beating it slightly to get it over onto the lip of the second tube insert, it then goes the rest of the way relatively easily, but with some force. So I can actually put them in and pull them out. They're tight, but you know, you can do it by hand most of the way, and that's what I wanted. I also went and drilled the titanium. Now, I wasn't looking forward to this, but actually I was surprised how easy it is to drill titanium. They have to be drilled out to about 1/4 of an inch for the bolts to go through. And what I did was I bought some cutting oil, and I just used I'm just going to turn the camera around now. I used my cheap flimsy pillar drill to do it. I've got a much better one in the garage, but this one is just for drilling aluminium parts normally. But I decided to try and use this one, and I was very surprised that it worked very, very easy. Although titanium is an incredibly hard material, and particularly if you want to try and use some sand it down, you know, with some wet and dry paper or something like that, it's incredibly resistant to anything like that. You can put a lot of effort in it. It gets very hot, but you don't actually remove any material. But when it comes to drilling, it drills surprisingly easily, and so I basically went up in about 4 or 5 stages of drill. Started off with a 2.4, I think it was, mil drill, 2.5 mil drill, and drilled a pilot hole through first, making sure obviously they've got the hole absolutely smack in the middle of the bar, and drilled through with that without much issue, and then went up in stages. Went one tiny size smaller than 1/4 for the second to last run through, and then just took it out to 1/4 with the last run through, and the bolt goes in. It's a nice snug fit. It's not tight and it's not loose, so I'm quite pleased with that. And I really was surprised how easy it was, but you've got to keep it lubricated and don't let it get too hot, because you can quite easily overheat the drill bit and kill the drill sharp edge. I did buy some cobalt 1/4 inch drill bits to do it with, although I don't actually think I needed them. These are the cobalt drill bits. The other drill bits I used were titanium coated, I think, or something like that. Ordinary high-speed drill bits. Well, in fact, it was a mixture. Some of them were ordinary high-speed drill bits and some of them had a coating on them. But the final cut through was done with the cobalt ones. And not too high a speed, not too low a speed. Choose the correct speed for the diameter of the drill bit. Keep it lubricated, keep it cool, and all is good. And it literally cuts through it. Beautiful, continuous swarf coming off. Was, well, surprised how easy it was. So don't worry about that. So thereon, had to buy an extra long drill bit for, this is one from Aircraft Spruce, extra long quarter drill bit, just to go through the actual frame, because once you've drilled your leg, let's see if I can find it here, you need to put the bolt through, and there's a tube which the bolt has to go down through the leg and out the other side, and so you need a very long drill bit because this bar gets in the way of your drill, and also it's a long way through, so you can see that. There we go, like that. So I can recommend a long quarter drill bit for this job. And now those are both fitted and secured, I turned my attention to the bottom end, and obviously on that we've got the little axles, stub axles, and the wheels and brakes to put on. So I've spent a bit of time having a look at the plans, finding all the bits, and so I have, let me turn you around again, I've assembled the wheels, and the wheels are basically split inners, aluminium inners. There's a brake disc and some special bolts that come in the kit. So you fix the brake disc to one side, the bolts go all the way through, out the other side, and 3 nuts on this side. The inner tube is supplied, and the tyre. Make sure you get the inner tube in round the right way so that the air filling spigot sticks out on this side, not like I did it the first time when it was sticking out on the brake disc side. Of course that won't work. Then we've got the stub axles next to it, the taper roller bearings, the brake, well, I can't call them calipers because they only work on one side of the brake disc, but the hydraulic brake actuators. And just to show you this beautifully constructed, hewn out of solid aluminium brake cylinder, which is a work of art. In it goes the piston. The bottom of the piston is the side with the reduced flange on it, to allow the oil to flow around it. There's an O-ring to go on it, which I won't put on at the moment because if I push it in I'll never get it back out again. So the piston goes in there, and then on top of it go the brake pads, like that. At one end you've got a bleeder, and that'll be on the high side when it's mounted, so the air comes up through and can be bled out. And then the brake hose pipe, you know, the pressure pipe attaches to the other end. what I'll do is I'll just put you on hold a second whilst I assemble it together. So the oh, it's fallen over. So the brake cylinder assembly slides onto the stub axle. Then we put on one of the roller bearings. Then, now that should be standing up, but it's just fallen over. The stub axle inserts into the wheel, and then on the outside goes the other bearing. Get it all to, there we go. And then there's a big nut that goes on the outside, and that's basically the wheel assembly. That's pretty easy. When you slide it onto the bottom of the leg, once the aircraft is in a position that you can do this, you need to set the toe in on the wheels, so you can't drill the bottom fixing for the stub axle onto the leg until you've got the wheels correctly aligned. And once you've got them aligned, you can then drill through the whole lot and insert the bolt, and Bob's your uncle. Also, I've assembled the tail wheel onto the bracket that the bracket that fits onto the back end of the tail cone, and it's got the 6-inch tail wheel, and I've also drilled and attached the push rod for the steering at one end. The other end needs to be drilled once it's all onto the aircraft, and you can line the wheel up with the rudder. I've also made some brackets as well. These two are for the rudder pedals. They're the rudder pedal, they join the rudder pedal to the cables that go to the rudder. I can't drill the other holes in them yet until we've actually got the aircraft together, got the cables, the rudder and everything attached, and they can then be set and drilled finally. This little bracket had to make, and is part of the trim system. It goes on the main elevator push rod just behind the seat. So I've made all those little bits, and really want to concentrate on trying to get the aircraft onto its wheels. This is because I need to get it to the hangar in order to really continue on with it. I've also had a bit of an epiphany with the control stick, because my Ray Allen stick grip arrived, which I have fitted, and unlike a lot that I've seen, it's got the fat bit at the bottom, because that's supposed to stop your hand from dropping down. I see a lot of people fit them the other way up for some unknown reason, I don't know why. It's got the single press to torque button in the top, and I've drilled an exit hole at the bottom for the cable to come out. I then realised I needed to secure the cable to the control stick assembly in some way, and looking at the trim, when I was fitting the trim bits, I realised that I hadn't drilled a hole in the side here for the trim adjustment spring. And also when I tried to put in my lovely master spring pins, they didn't fit because the recessed hole in the little shouldered hole in this part here wasn't big enough to take them, so I had to drill it out, which meant I had to strip the whole thing apart. I had to take it out from down here, had to have the whole thing out, drill all the holes, fit all the clips, and then put it all back together again. So that was a bit of a nightmare because I thought that was in there for good. Also made the little plate to go on top of here. Now that's there because the trim cable, which I fitted the fitting there, the outer cable comes in and the inner carries on, and because of the way this is constructed in here, the cable has to go over the top of here. So this little Tufnell plate, or what do they call it, phenolic plate, is there basically to wear away rather than the cable wearing away. I've also fitted the right hand throttle, and I've started work on the right hand panels. The front one is in and in position, and the rear one I am currently working on and is over here, using the left hand one as a template, basically, so that I do it exactly the same way and it should just fit. Let's have a look at my little list here. What else have I been up to? So we've had the saga of the legs, we've had the saga of the control stick, the brake master cylinder. Well, on my other airplane, the Super Gepard, I had a brake issue, and the brake master, I replaced the actual brake calipers and discs, and the problem still persisted. The brakes were absolutely dismal. Now, because I've been practicing doing lots of very short field landings, having brakes that work is definitely a good idea. So I asked somebody who knows about these things what I could do to help the brakes, and he said, well, get rid of that awful master cylinder that you've got on the Super Gepard and put a Behringer one in there instead. And I thought, I can't see that's going to make much difference. Master cylinder's a master cylinder, isn't it? No, they're not. I bought at vast expense the Behringer master cylinder. It's a control stick, a bit like a motorcycle brake unit, which goes on the control stick. And I must say I'm a convert, because it sorted all my braking problems out, and it works extremely well. They're very progressive, get lots of feedback through it, which didn't before. Immense power, so I can actually lock the wheels if I want to. Not that that's a very good idea on grass strips, but anyway. So I then thought, well, why don't I have the same system on the Sonex? Because something that had occurred to me was, in the cockpit, if you're trying to operate the brakes and the throttle at the same time, which when you're taxiing and doing things like that. They're both on the left hand side, very close together. I thought, well, it's not exactly ideal, because you would want to be able to use the throttle and the brake at the same time, really. And so by fitting a master cylinder that goes on the control stick and is operated much in the way that a motorbike one would be, means that I've got the ability to apply aileron into the wind on the ground, apply the brakes, and with my other hand use the throttle. Sounds good? Well, we're going to find out, because as you've probably noticed, I've already removed the Sonex supplied master cylinder, and I'm going to buy a Behringer one for this as well. There is one small problem. Behringer is European, and all the adapters for it are for European metric sized brake pipes, and of course everything in the Sonex kit is Imperial, and it has 3/16 diameter brake pipe, but I'm sure I can find something to marry the two together. So that's that. What else have we been up to? I've got lots of things written down here. So we've done the brake master cylinder, we've done the right hand throttle, the right hand panel, the fuel breather. Well, as I mentioned last time, I had only drilled 2 out of the 3 holes in the fuel tank. Well, the third one is in there, and this is in the position as marked on the plans, and there will be a right angle fitting and then a pipe coming away, probably down the firewall, I don't know, something like that, so it vents on the forward side of the firewall. So that's where I am at the moment. Now, as to where I'm going next, I want to finish the cockpit off, which was the plan last time. So I've got pretty much everything done that I need to do, apart from the fitting of the right hand panel, which will be easier done here than at the Aero Club. So I've got some brackets to make to fix the panels onto the side of the aircraft, and then I've got a master list over here which is telling me, oh yes, I need to extend the PTT cable, because the PTT cable reaches about that far, and I've been wondering what to do about it, because what I've done with the routing of the PTT cable is to keep the amount of bend that happens to the absolute minimum. So from there to there, there's hardly any movement in the cable at all. And I've taken the cable right down to the bottom where the pivot is, so that when you go backwards and forwards, there's almost no movement as well. So hopefully it won't fracture. But I've got to decide what I'm going to connect it to. So I was thinking that maybe it might be an idea to fit a 3.5mm jack socket into there, terminate the cable on this side on the 3.5mm jack socket, and then have a 3.5mm jack plug with the new cable going off to wherever it's going to go. Up over here somewhere. Oh no, it's going backwards to the radio. Which means that once the seat is installed, which is riveted in, I can actually get at it through this hole, which would be good. And so I'm pretty much at the point where I can take it to the hangar. That's what I want to do. I've got Mother sleeping in this room in November, and I need to redecorate it because I've made a mess. So I need to get it over to the hangar. The push is to get it to the hangar in the next few weeks if I possibly can, work permitting. Get it on its wheels, get it assembled, do the pop the wings in, get the wing fixings drilled, get the tail on for the final time, etc, etc, and actually pop some of these bits together. Looking at the plan, it's looking good because we're green now all the way up to this level, right the way across. So the things that are left to do are the tail tip details, which I was going to do once the tail was assembled onto the aircraft. We've got the canopy and the windshield to do, which I was going to do over there anyway. And then really it's assembly of the aircraft, which happens across this line. And then once we've done those boxes, what does that say? Excellent, that's what we want to hear. So all is looking good. Lots of green boxes. I've been round and finished off all the little bits and pieces that I had left over from previous times, and ticked a few more boxes. I want to wire the tail cone. I still haven't done that. It's sitting there exactly as it was when you saw it last time. Wiring it won't take very long. I need to spend a couple of days just putting the loom together. I've got everything I need. I've got all the cable, I've got all the connectors, I've got all the crimp tools, wire strippers, everything that I can think of. Lots of different sizes of heat shrink to shrink the cables together at regular intervals. So that's on my list. So basically finish off the interior panels, get the wiring done, get it over to the hangar. Do you think I can do that? Of course I can. When is another matter, but I'm hopeful that I'm going to get some time in over the next couple of weeks with the long stay guests here at the moment. And once I get it in the hangar, I think actually it's going to make it easier in that when I'm out of the house and at the hangar, nobody can get to me. I should be able to spend good mornings or afternoons or even complete days over there. It's very difficult here because there's always something going on, something breaking, something needs attention. So lots of washing and ironing and all that kind of stuff, cleaning and things to do. So it might be better to have it away from the house and somewhere where I can just go, shut the door and get on with it. I want to be flying this, well, I want it finished this year. So we'll see what happens. Anyway, that's where I am at the moment, and hopefully I'll have some more information for you in a week or so. Speak to you later. Bye.